Closed captioning for great taste is presented by Dairy Farmers of Manitoba, committed to producing milk according to the highest standards of quality. Great Tastes of Manitoba. Great Tastes is brought to you by GreatTastesMB.ca. Local farms, local foods. Great Tastes is sponsored by the Government of Canada and Manitoba Agriculture through the Canadian Agricultural Partnership.
Here we go, 30th season of Great Tastes of Manitoba. Can you believe it? We are going to have so much fun this season, this year, as we do every year. We want to say thank you to all of our different farmers, all of our different sponsors that we've had over the years, and last but certainly not least, viewers, some of you have actually watched for, almost 30 years, or some of you actually been with us for 30 years, 3 decades. So thank you very much for that. And we get to do this episode with Sarah Cahill, Dairy Farmers of Manitoba. It's so great to have you back. This is your 11th season?
It is.
Yes, you're a very long-standing member of our team, so it's great to have you here to kick things off this season. And of course, Aaron Alblas, always a pleasure to see you, sir, with your beverage pairings. We're looking forward to that. Okay, so we've got our cake. We're actually doing a cake. We'll get to that in a second. But butternut squash, mac and cheese. We've got 3 recipes. That's one we're starting with tonight. Run through our recipes for us.
Sure. Well, tonight is all about comfort foods. So when you think about comfort foods, you think about pretty simple to make, really delicious foods. Great
Sweatpants.
After totally long, hard day. Something to enjoy with family. So yes, butternut squash mac and cheese is the first recipe we're going to make. We're going to move on to some slow cooker Swedish meatballs, and then we're going to end up with a coconut hot milk cake.
Well, don't get too comfortable because you've got to come back and do some beverage pairings for these recipes. Thoughts?
Right, lots of expectations, first episode of the 30th season. So we're going to keep things local, and we're going to do beer.
Groovy. We'll see you shortly. All right, here we go. Butternut squash, mac and cheese. Always something decadent to start with. And
I'm just going to take this with me.
We'll make another one.
all right, we'll just let that go, whatever that was. Okay.
We're making mac and cheese, but we're making it with butternut squash.
Okay,
so
all right.
we need to roast our butternut squash so that we can use it. So usually to roast a butternut squash, you would just cut it in half, just core out the seeds and all the stuff in the middle, turn it upside down in a deep dish pan, put your half a cup of water in there, in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
When it comes out, it's really soft, it's scoopable, but you still want to puree it a little bit. So if you've got an immersion blender or a food processor, something like that, perfect. And then you get a really nice, smooth consistency for your sauce. That's what we're looking for.
I've actually tried peeling butternut squash a couple of times. It's
a tough process, so
fun.
this makes it way easier.
Like easier.
So we're going to start with our sauce. So we've already got some butter melting for our sauce, to which we need to add some seasoning. So we've got a nice melt on here. So we're going to add some garlic, because of course every great sauce has garlic in it.
Gotta have it.
And then we've got some additional seasoning. So some Italian seasoning, some paprika, as well as some salt and pepper. Throw that all in there.
Okay.
And then we, of course, are making a roux.
Speaking of traditions, this is something you and I do every single season, at least once, sometimes twice.
That's right.
And I've become an expert roux maker thanks to you.
So to our butter, we usually add...
Oh yes, we've got some flour, and of course Manitoba wheat flour. It's not just about bread or flour. It's about, we make pasta with this, the highest quality wheat produced pretty much in the world, and we're very, very proud of that fact. So, all processed into cereals and all kinds of amazing things, a lot of these products, we use on the show and have used over the last 30 years.
Absolutely, and we're going to use some in our macaroni later on in this dish.
Are you putting me to
so,
work yet?
Yes,
okay.
So we are going to add our milk to our roux to make our sauce.
Okay.
So I'm going to get you to add a little bit of it at a time. Of course, we know over the years a little bit of slow and steady helps to get a really nice, smooth sauce.
So, speaking of milk, dairy products, this is actually something that lots of folks have been talking about here over the last little while, because we have a brand new Canada food guide. And so I thought maybe you could talk for a couple of minutes about how the changes, how dairy fits in with those changes.
Absolutely. So yes, we do have a new food guide, and milk and milk products absolutely still have a role in healthy eating pattern for Canadians. So our previous food guide had milk and milk products in the milk and alternatives category.
Right.
Similarly, there was a meat and alternatives category. So now we're seeing both of those foods represented in the recommendation to eat protein foods.
Right.
In addition to, of course, vegetables and fruit
Right.
and whole grains. So the thing is, what's really important to remember with protein foods is that they're not all interchangeable, which means that some are higher in iron, some are higher in fiber, and some are higher in calcium, like your milk and your milk products, which is really why it's important to get a variety so that we can get our calcium and protein from our milk and alternatives to help with bone growth and maintenance over the life cycle.
Right, and so of course, buying, Canadian produced dairy products, you can find them. There's a particular thing that you're looking for. You're looking for that label, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
We are looking for that label, and if it says it's Dairy Farmers of Canada,
Right.
we certainly know it's made in Canada as
Right.
well. And so,
Okay.
speaking of Canadian made, we also have some Canadian made cheese.
All right.
So our sauce, once we give it some time, will thicken.
This is what it will look
So this
like.
is what your thickened sauce looks like. So to the sauce, we're going to add our Canadian cheddar.
Delish, and what I love about using cheddar is that it just adds that beautiful color, and then you've got that.
It's beautiful
Butternut
squash. So
squash.
we're going to add that in here as well. And now the other thing with Canada's food guide is beverage choices. There seems to be some confusion there because the actual recommendation is to make water your beverage of choice, which is kind of confusing,
That
right?
is, yeah.
So if you look into the additional resources on the Health Canada website, you will see some additional information which does list unsweetened milk as a healthy choice in addition to water.
All right, and as you say, through the life cycle, there's different times in your life. For example, if you're expecting, where you're going to want to have more of the, milk is a great option. Right?
Absolutely. And I mean, really throughout the whole life cycle, right? So when you're young, when you're expecting, when you're
sure.
old, I mean, really for everybody, bone health is important. And I think that we tend to think that bone health is really just important for kids
No,
sometimes,
no,
right?
no.
And it certainly is important for everybody.
All right,
So
well,
you're doing a really good job there. You're doing all the work. I love
That's
this.
okay. It's my pleasure to do it. All right, so that's that.
So we've added some whole wheat pasta.
Right.
We're mixing it up. If you find that it's a little bit thick still, you can add some more water to it from your reserve
yes.
sauce.
Okay.
Or pasta water, and you're good to go.
It is a workout, though. Holy smokes, I'm going to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to do slow cooker Swedish meatballs. Dairy Farmers of Manitoba, Sarah Cahill, Season 30, Great Taste of Manitoba. We'll be right back.
You're watching Great Tastes of Manitoba, brought to you in part by GreatTastesMB.ca. Local farms, local foods.